You said something awkward 3 days ago. You're still thinking about it. You can still hear the sentence. You can still see everyone's faces. And somewhere in your mind, you're convinced they remember it too. They probably don't. Your brain just hasn't realized that yet. What's strange isn't that you remember the moment. What's strange is how certain you are that everyone else remembers it too. Almost as if, for a few seconds, every conversation stopped. Every pair of eyes turned, and a spotlight swung across the room until it landed on you. It didn't feel imagined. It felt observed. So why does your brain create that feeling so easily? And why does it feel so undeniably real? The answer begins long before classrooms, long before offices, long before awkward meetings and forgotten jokes. It begins in a world where being watched actually mattered. Imagine living 30,000 years ago. You don't know hundreds of people. You know 30, maybe 40. The same people gather around the same fire every night. The same people hunt beside you, share food with you, protect you, raise children with you. There are no strangers to disappear into, no anonymous crowds, no fresh start in another city. Your reputation lives in the minds of the people around you every day. Now, imagine something different. You interrupt someone during a conversation. You fail during a hunt. You lose your temper. The mistake isn't embarrassing. It's information. If the group loses confidence in you, your life becomes harder. If enough people stop trusting you, it becomes dangerous. For your ancestors, social attention was survival data. Your brain learned a simple rule. If people might be watching, assume they are. Because evolution rarely rewards missed danger. It rewards false alarms. Imagine hearing something move outside a cave at night. If you look outside and discover it's only the wind, you lose a few seconds. If you ignore it and discover it's a predator, you might lose everything. The safer strategy is obvious. Overreact every time. Your social brain learned the same lesson. Better to imagine attention that isn't there than fail to notice attention that is. That ancient calculation is still running. The world changed. Your brain didn't. Ancient brain, modern world. This raises a strange question. If your brain evolved to overestimate attention, how wrong is it? Most people would probably guess a little, maybe 10%, maybe 20%. Psychologists wondered the same thing. For decades, nobody could measure it, until one deceptively simple experiment changed the conversation. In the year 2000, psychologists Thomas Gilovich, Victoria Medvesh, and Kenneth Savitsky invited university students into a laboratory. The task sounded almost childish. Each participant put on an embarrassingly obvious t-shirt. Then they walked into a room filled with other students. Before entering, every participant answered one question. How many people do you think will notice what you're wearing? Think about your own answer for a second. Really imagine yourself walking into that room. Would half the people notice? A third? Almost everyone? Most participants guessed around half. That feels reasonable. After all, you would certainly notice what you were wearing. But the researchers weren't interested in feelings. They counted. When the observers were questioned afterward, only about 20% remembered the shirt. Not 40, not 50, around 1 in 5. The participants hadn't slightly overestimated the attention. They had more than doubled it. That result became known as the spotlight effect. But here's the part that most people never hear. The researchers repeated the experiment using shirts people were proud to wear. The same thing happened. People still believed everyone was looking at them. The brain wasn't reacting to embarrassment. It was reacting to attention itself. That changes the story completely. Maybe your brain isn't obsessed with criticism. Maybe it's obsessed with being seen. Because for almost all of human history, being seen was information your ancestors couldn't afford to ignore. But that explanation leaves something unanswered. If everyone overestimates how much attention they're receiving, who is doing all the watching? That's where the story becomes strange, because the answer has almost nothing to do with other people. It has everything to do with the one person your brain can never stop observing. The answer begins with a limitation every human being shares. You can never experience the world from anywhere except inside your own mind. It sounds obvious, but almost everything your brain predicts about other people begins there. Think about the awkward thing you said 3 days ago. You remember every word. You remember where you were standing. You remember the expression on the other person's face. You remember the moment your stomach dropped. The memory is loud, bright, impossible to ignore. So your brain quietly makes an assumption. If this moment feels this vivid to me, it must be just as vivid to everyone else. That's the mistake. Not because your brain is irrational, because it has nothing else to compare your experience to. Psychologists call this the illusion of transparency. The name sounds complicated. The idea isn't. Your inner world feels so obvious to you that your brain assumes other people can see far more of it than they actually can. Your nervousness, your embarrassment, your uncertainty, your racing thoughts. It feels as though they're leaking out into the room, as though everyone else has access to the same broadcast you're experiencing inside your own head. But they don't. This is where the story changes again. The spotlight effect isn't really about attention. It's about perspective. Your brain has access to one person's thoughts 24 hours a day, yours. Everyone else's mind is almost completely invisible. So when your own thoughts become overwhelming, your brain quietly assumes they must also be obvious from the outside. But researchers discovered something even stranger. Psychologist Nicholas Epley spent years studying how accurately people understand what other people are thinking. Again and again, his research reached a similar conclusion. Human beings dramatically overestimate how much other people notice, remember, and think about them. Not because other people don't care, but because they're trapped by exactly the same limitation. Every brain is occupied with itself first. Imagine walking through a busy airport. You notice your untied shoelace, the stain on your shirt, the awkward wave you accidentally gave to someone who wasn't waving at you. Meanwhile, the woman walking past is worrying about arriving late. The man beside you is rehearsing tomorrow's presentation. Someone else is wondering why their friend hasn't replied. Each brain is carrying its own private documentary. Each person is the main character of a story nobody else can fully see. That realization transforms the Cornell experiment. It wasn't simply measuring embarrassment. It was measuring something much deeper. Every participant entered the room believing they were unusually visible. Every observer inside that room was busy starring in exactly the same illusion. The room wasn't filled with spectators. It was filled with protagonists, and every protagonist believed everyone else was watching them. That is the real spotlight effect. Not that everyone is looking at you, that everyone quietly believes everyone is looking at them. If your brain has ever convinced you that every eye in the room was fixed on you, it wasn't a flaw. It was revealing how every human mind experiences the world, from a seat it can never leave.